Welcome to the Excel training program. This is module 2, creating and saving workbooks. We're going to look at creating a workbook, how to save it. We'll have a look at auto-saving, how to close a workbook, how to open one, how to move the cell pointer within a workbook, how to move around a worksheet itself, how to enter text and numbers and dates and times, and we'll have a look at the zoom tool. In module 1 we looked at how to open Excel, and that was via the start menu. We also created a desktop shortcut, and we also pinned the app to the taskbar, which is at the bottom of our screen. So that would be the easiest way to open Excel from the taskbar. We could also just create an icon on our desktop for a new worksheet by right-clicking on the desktop, running down to New, and then running across to Microsoft Excel Worksheet. I'm just going to name this one Example. When I finish naming it, I'll just click away from it. And if I double-click on it, it'll open up directly in Excel. And as you'll notice, it doesn't go to the welcome screen like it did when we clicked on the app icon on the taskbar. When we first open a workbook, it might be difficult to see closely the screen, so I'm just going to go down to the bottom right here and zoom in. I'm at 100% at the moment. I'm going to zoom in here with the plus sign. We'll look at the zoom control in more detail in a while. And sometimes it's necessary to widen column A, so I'm just going to put my mouse between the A and the B. When I see the two arrows there, I'm just going to left click and just drag it across just to give the column some width. We'll look at column width in more detail as well later. I'm just going to type something into the first cell here and hit return. When you finish dealing with a particular cell, you should always get out of it. Now I'm just going to go up to the file menu here to save. This is one method of saving. I just need to tell it then where I want to save. I'm going to save to my desktop, so I'll navigate to my desktop here. You'll notice that the default name is Book 1, so that's what I'll call it. And click Save. And we can see at the title at the top there that this is now Book 1. Now I've already got a file called Book 1. Another method of saving would be to save this particular file again, and I can use this icon, and you can see there I can use the keyboard shortcut of Control and S. The function key F12 will also save as well. Now if I still want to call this Book 1, then I'll overwrite the existing Book 1, which is fine. I'll click Save and replace it. However, there may be instances where I want to save the file with a different name, so in that case I'll go File, Save As this time. I already still want to save to my desktop, so I'll choose Desktop, that's a recent folder, and I'll just call this Book 2 instead. I have various other options to save files as, not just as an Excel workbook. If I click there, I can see all the different options, but I'm just going to stick with Excel workbook for now. We'll look at all of these later. And this is going to be saved as Book 2. Okay, we'll look at Save again from a different worksheet. We can go to the top left hand corner to the blue floppy disk icon and click that for Save. Then determine where we're going to save to, and we'll be giving it a name after that, but I'll just go back first to show you that you can also go File and Save, such as that. We'll just go back again, because you may have noticed that up on this icon here in brackets is Control and S, which is a keyboard shortcut to save, so we'll just go Control and S. Takes us back to our Save As window, but I'll go back once again because there's another keyboard shortcut we can use, which is the function key F12, and that will take me straight to the Save As dialog box. Okay, so we'll decide to save this by going to File and then Save. As with all files, we should give it a location. If I cannot see desktop here, I'll just click Browse and navigate to my desktop that way. I will give it the name Agencies. I could determine a type of file I could save it as, but at the moment I'm just going to save it as an Excel workbook. Like I say, we'll look at some of the others later. And I'll click Save, and that should be on my desktop now. Just have a look there, and there it is. As with most Microsoft applications, there is an auto recover option within Excel. There's not really anything you have to do with this, just be aware of it. It's useful if your computer crashes, say, or there's a power shortage. If you just go to File and Options, there are various options here, but I'm just going to go to the Save one for now. We'll look at the others later. And here you can see that Auto Recover is saving every 10 minutes, but you could change that if you wanted to. And it shows you the location of where it's saving the Auto Recover version 2. I could also change the options for this particular workbook and by disabling Auto Recover, although I'm not sure why anyone would want to do that. So just go OK to that. A little tip, of course, is every now and again, if you want to just back up what you've done, either just hit the icon at the top here to save, and that just backs up what you've done, or use the keyboard shortcut, which is Control and S. And that backs up everything you've done up till now. When you want to close a workbook, there are a number of methods you could use. Pretty straightforward. Most obvious one is to go to the top right hand corner to the X and close there. If you haven't made any changes, then it will just close automatically, but if you have, it will warn you if you want to save. And you can see here that it says a recent copy of this file will be temporarily available. That's in your auto recover. I'm actually going to click Save here, and that closes Excel. I'll just open the file again. And another way of closing this file is to go File and Close. That will still leave Excel open, which is fine if that's what we want to do. If I want to open up the file again, I can go to my recent workbooks and find it there. One method of closing the program completely is to use the keyboard shortcut Alt and function key F4. Alt F4, and that closes Excel completely. To open a workbook that already exists, that's to say one you've already created, if you're able to find the icon for the file, you can just click to open it and just allow Excel to open. I'm just going to close this now. Again, if I want to open the file from within Excel, I can go File and Open. And I should see recent workbooks here, but if the workbook I'm looking for is in a different location, I will click the location and navigate to find where it is. Moving the cell pointer around the worksheet is pretty straightforward. As you can imagine, all you would do is click into the cells that you want. Notice that each cell has got its own reference. For example, I'm in E4 at the moment, but I'll just go over there to B14 and you can see it's changed. If I wanted to go to a particular cell, I could use my Go To command by going Find and Select and then clicking Go To. And say I just wanted to go to J4, I just type in J4 and then go OK. And now I'm in J4. Of course, I can also use the arrow keys to move around the cells. I'm just moving the left arrow here and now the top arrow, which takes me back to A1, which is my home cell. It doesn't really matter where you are in the worksheet. If you use the command Control and Home, it will take you back to the home cell A1. Many people, when they're just learning Excel, will sometimes end up way across the spreadsheet. I'm just going to use my right arrow here and scroll along the top row, and you can see I'm going way into the spreadsheet. This could have happened as well by hitting a keyboard shortcut by mistake, but remember, Control and Home will always take you back to cell A1. You can also move around the worksheet by using the scroll bars. There's not much on this worksheet at the moment, so there's not really much to scroll through, but if there was more data, then I'd be able to use the horizontal and vertical scroll bars. We'll see that later. Okay, now we'll look at entering text into cells on a worksheet. I'm just going to go and zoom in here, bottom right hand corner, so we can see things a little clearer. There we go. I could widen the column as well, and that is moving the cursor between the A and the B. Left click and drag it across, like so. That will do. And as you can imagine, quite simple to enter text. Once you're in the correct cell, I'll just type in there north. Now when I finish dealing with a cell, I should just click enter or hit return to get out the cell. When I do that, it takes me down to the cell below. If I'd wanted to go to the right, then I would just use my tab or indent key, and that will take me to cell B1. Remember, you can use your arrow keys to move around the cells. I'll just go back to north, and I can either use my down arrow or my return key to take me to the cell below. I'll just type in here east, and as before, hit return. I'll type in south here, hit return, and then type in west in cell A4. Now suppose I'd wanted to change one of those cells. If I go back to say south, for example, in cell A3, if I need to change that cell, I need to click into the formula bar at the top here. I'll just take the H off for a second there and type it back in again, and when I'm finished dealing with that cell, I'll just hit return, and I'm down to cell A4. Okay, I'll just save my file now, so I'll click save or use Control and S. Determine where I'm going to save it first, to my desktop. So there's my desktop, and I'll click into the file name here. Remember, when something is blue and selected, it means you can type straight over it. All I did was click onto the file name there. I'll just call this text. Okay, we're saving it as a cell workbook, so that's fine. So I'll click save, and back to our cell. As you would imagine, numbers would be pretty similar. You noticed that the text there went in left aligned. We're able to change that here in the alignment section. For example, if I just click into north there, I could hit the right alignment icon, and that would take north over to the right. But I actually want it left aligned by default, so I'll click the left alignment icon. We'll look at the alignments in more detail later. As you can imagine, with numbers, be pretty similar, except numbers would go in right aligned. So I'll just put in a number here and hit return. I'll put in some more numbers, and so on. All I'm doing is just typing in a number and hitting return, and that will take me to the cell below. Remember, if I want to go to the right, say I'll just put in a number here. If I want to go to the right of the 2, I'll hit my tab key instead of my return key. A useful little keyboard shortcut is Control and Z, which is the undo command, and you'll find that on the title bar at the top of your screen, which is a reverse arrow, and as you can see there, it says Control Z, and that will usually undo most actions. So if I just go Control Z here, it'll take the 2 out again. Another useful method of editing data in cells is to click into the cell and then double click it. And suppose I just want to change this, I'll just delete the 8 with my delete key. I'll type in 4 and hit return. I could have done that with the text as well. If I just click into cell A3 here, double click, and I can edit the cell by double clicking. You can of course still use the formula bar. Remember, when you're finished dealing with a cell, just hit return or your tab indent key to get out of the cell. Dates are quite straightforward. Suppose we just want to put in today's date. Type it in and hit return. And because it's a number, it's right aligned. But I could just go back to that and say that I want it left aligned, like so. Some useful formula to include the date and time are equals now, open bracket, close bracket. Hit return, and that will give today's date and the time. Also, we can use the formula equals today, open bracket, close bracket, hit return. And that just puts in the date in without the time. We briefly looked at the zoom tool earlier on. Remember, that's down in the bottom right hand corner. Remember, we can hit the plus sign to zoom in, like so, or the minus sign to zoom out, like so. Notice now that I'm at 200%. I could also use the zoom slider control by left clicking on it and dragging it either way, like so. That's taking me to 280%. Or I could define a particular zoom, so I'll just click on the 280 there, and it gives us a selection of different magnifications. Or I could select a particular magnification that I want. Let's just say 120% in custom there, and then go OK. So I'm now zoomed at 120%. I could have also selected the text. I'm just left clicking into cell A1 and dragging down as far as A4 and then far across to B4. I'll go to my zoom control here and choose fit selection and go OK, and that will zoom into the area that I've selected. Okay, just a little exercise for you to do here now, nothing too strenuous. Just open up Excel and zoom into the worksheet by using the plus sign so it's easier for you to read, and just widen the column between A and B. Remember, left click between the A and the B and drag across. Okay, and enter some text. It can be anything you like. I'm just going to type in North here. Hit return, takes me to the cell below. Just the point is, if I put in a number here in cell B1 and hit return, that will actually take me down to the next cell as well. Just get used to moving around the worksheet by using your arrow keys. Of course, you can use the mouse as well. Get used to adding or editing text. Remember, if I want to change that now, I can double click or go up to the formula bar. If I wanted to select everything, I can either double click or select it that way and type over the selection like so. Hit return, takes me to the cell below. And just get practice with the zoom tool. Remember, fit selection is whatever cells you have selected. I've only one cell at the moment, so I'm not going to choose that. 100% might be comfortable for you. It might not. I'll go to 200%, like so. That's a much more comfortable view. It's just a question of getting used to the worksheet and moving around using your mouse or the arrow keys. And after a while it becomes second nature. And here's a summary of what we've covered in Module 2, creating and saving workbooks. Creating, saving, auto-saving, closing a workbook, opening an existing workbook, moving around the cells and around the worksheet, entering text, numbers, dates and times, and using the zoom tool.